But I would say now that they're adding all this money to the IRS budget and they're going to hire all these additional agents, they're going to be much more aggressive in auditing individual Americans and trying to go after people they think have cheated on their taxes.
Ever since Biden first proposed this and Congress passed it, people have been talking among themselves, what does this mean to me, to my taxes, and to my family? Is there something I should do now to make sure I avoid any confrontation with the newly empowered Internal Revenue Service? George Seay is our man on economic issues. We spoke with him earlier. You know, I'm hearkening back to those immortal words of Benjamin Franklin, who said, we've given you a republic if you can keep it. And I think one of the things he meant by that was it's not going to work if you people out there are not honest.
Yeah, it's interesting because to me, the implication of this legislation and this huge spending boondoggle on the IRS, which I think most Americans would find ominous, is there's kind of this presupposition on the government's part that there's all these tax cheats out there that they're going to go bring to justice and audit and get a whole lot more tax revenue out of, and it's going to more than pay for this thing. And I think that's a pipe dream. I think that America, I have a better view of American integrity than the government does, and I don't think there's hundreds of thousands or millions of tax cheats out there to catch. If they catch one or two more, that's a good thing, but at what cost? We're going to spend a lot of money to do that, and the government's going to go after the middle class and the upper middle class as well as the quote-unquote rich, because there's just not that many people who make $400,000 or more a year. There's a lot more people that make $75,000 to $400,000. And no matter what the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said about them not going after anyone who's making less than $400,000, it's rumored she's going to step down at the end of this year, and she's not going to be around to be held accountable for that statement. They're going to go after people making a lot less, too.
You were very direct last time you mentioned her and this promise not to go after people making under $400,000. You called her a liar.
I did,
That's
and I think that's an accurate statement. I hate to, it does sound kind of a little rude, and I apologize if it was a little too strong, but I think the government lies to you all the time these days. I think the level of honesty in the government is at a pretty low level right now, and that people are told things to gaslight the opposition, to give people a narrative that's absolutely not true, to push some kind of agenda. And I think it's better to see the world as it is and what's going to actually happen than just be spoon-fed a bunch of lies and take it as truth. And that was not a true statement. They're going to go after people making a lot less than the quote-unquote rich.
Right. Well, that's an interesting point, because I have read articles which indicate that the percentage of people taxed will remain the same, regardless of income level. So if you're hiring more tax collectors, it would seem to me that even if the percentages are the same, the number of people making under $400,000 will increase who are audited.
That goes into the rising tide lifts all boats category, that eventually this country has produced more and more prosperity for its people, so people make more and more money, and the IRS wants a bigger and bigger share of that as we go along.
So you subscribe to that theory that in fact will happen?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
You can't blame your tax accountant, can you? In other words, if you're in any kind of tax trouble, the burden is on you. You can't say, well, my accountant told me to do this, or George Seay at Annandale Capital told me to do this.
Yeah, that's unfortunately a typical law at the federal governmental level, that ignorance of the law is no excuse. You have to get the laws right, and you have to make sure your taxes are filed right. And when you sign your tax return, you're saying that you're representing to the government under penalty of perjury that everything you file is accurate. So you better trust your accountant a lot, and they better be really good, because you don't want the IRS coming in and saying that you've done something that is not only negligent but might be dishonest. You want to make sure that you're buttoned up real tight when you're dealing with the IRS.
Yeah, and the same applies to your accountant, right? You got to make sure an accountant is an ethical person.
And it's funny too, because there is some gray in accounting where you can be less aggressive or more aggressive depending on what your advice from your accountant would have you do. But I would say now that they're adding all this money to the IRS budget and they're going to hire all these additional agents, they're going to be much more aggressive in auditing individual Americans and trying to go after people they think have cheated on their taxes. So it's much more safe and let you sleep better at night if you err on the side of being more cautious, more careful, and more squeaky clean in the way you deal with your taxes.
The people who have got to be a little bit frightened about this, I would think, more than any other category of human, or is the small business owner, right, who oftentimes files their income taxes as an individual.
Well, the problem with that too, as you know, Doug, is that your small business owner their margins are typically tighter. They don't have as much room for error in terms of profitability, and they don't have an army of lawyers they can bring together to fight the IRS if somebody comes after them. So I would say it's on them to be even more safe and careful than large corporations, super wealthy people who have an army of professionals that can fight for them.
If you pay too much in taxes, you can get it back, correct? Depending on the speed of the IRS, right?
You know, I think everybody looks at the IRS as kind of the evil empire of the American government, but I will say that they're trying to get the math right too. And when you overpay your taxes, they will refund you your money. So you're probably better off erring on paying a little bit too much than not paying enough and suffering the cost of an audit after it.
Has technology and the digital aid helped or impaired honesty when it comes to paying taxes and collecting taxes?
I think it's improved the accuracy. I think that's one thing that technology's been good about. But the problem is, one of the reasons that they are spending all this money on the IRS is that their systems are so antiquated and outdated that they're way behind, and they're dealing with software programs and technology that just can't keep up with modern life. And so part of this bill is the Democrats viewing a whole lot more Americans than others as tax cheats and wanting to go after them. But part of it's just we need to upgrade the IRS's ability, because they're acting in a very negligent, inefficient manner right now in how they're processing people's taxes. I believe the last I heard they were almost 20 million tax returns behind in terms of processing tax returns. So it's a very inept federal agency.
Right. Now, in their defense, they maintain that the COVID-19 epidemic hindered a lot of their tax collection. So there is that, but I subscribe more to your theory than theirs. George Seay from Annandale Capital, always appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Hi, I'm Doug McKelway, and thank you for watching Centerpoint. We hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Leave a comment below and keep the conversation going by sharing this video with a friend who needs to see it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.